Hear, O Yashar'Al, the great I am, the great spirit, is the only power for you. The great I am, the great spirit is one. Speak peace on this day of rest. Rise, O Yashar'Al. Welcome to World War III. Our reference today will be Isaiah 53, chapter 7. This message will be entitled The Social Construct of Policing. Now, to get things started, the Pax Britannia, also a British peace, was extended into the colonial system, which claimed, or their colonial system, which claimed the empire on which the sun never sets. That meaning they had a piece of land that they were in control of throughout all the earth, where the sun would never set on their empire. Now the British Parliament, or the kingdom, sort of say, or the empire, they may have thought that their piece was the overrule of all the 500 or more million people forcibly subjected to their empire of colonialism. All of the cultures subjugated have either resisted and revolted many times since. Some cultures, like the Hindus of India, have created their own separate governments. The United States, its Monroe Doctrine, was also a baseline colonial system calling for peace in the Americas. And this Monroe Doctrine was wanting the Europeans, we call Edomites here at Indigenous Hebrew Israelite Awakening, that is the biblical term for Europeans. This Monroe Doctrine wanted the old world to keep out of the politics of what they called the New World. These are the two policies which created the social engineering of interventionism, intrusivism, or imperialism over other races, nationalities, and originally indigenous peoples. The military was the old world enforcing tool in the European doctrine of discovery, such as an act or actor, action, or acting in pretense of war, was the cause of policing in those days. The problem for the Negro in the Americas is that policing in the Americas has a baseline of racism and slavery. One must not be found in the act of war, but simply convinced of the United States social engineering of being guilty of a certain law or a created law. And that goes not just for the Negro, but everyone else in the Americas. This is how you looked at when social engineering is placed upon you. And a lot of people may say, oh, well, you're saying social engineering, isn't that based off of computer science and all this other stuff? Well, look, social engineering has been going on long before the invention and creation of the computer. And this is what I'm here to discuss. Now, self-determination does not equal social engineering. Self-determination is the process of an individual taking control of their own life force without the shadow of a doubting system enforced by colonialism. Whereas the supposed greatest and richest country in the world can give all its citizens the money they need, it chooses to send its wealth to other countries, thereby pretending that they're doing you a good as a citizen, but sending all the goods somewhere else. Let's touch on that a little bit. The government company that is quick to enforce punishment on its own poor citizens is fully prepared and ready to send money to what is called the Middle East or Africa or other parts of the world that are not in the Americas. Social engineering, in this case, tends to teach you there's nothing wrong with the government that is supposedly damaging you. Here's a case law example of how the evil criminal's justice, or justice for criminals, plays out. Salinas versus Texas. Genovio, if that's pronounced correctly, Genovio Salinas began answering Houston police questions about a neighborhood murder. He later decided to utilize the Fifth Amendment of the United States Constitution, or plead the Fifth, meaning beg for the Fifth Amendment. An hour-long non-custodial interview was conducted by Houston police before he utilized his self-determination of rights. His Miranda warning rights were not read to him during the interview. And you can see Miranda versus Arizona, 384 U.S. 436, Supreme Court, 1966. In that Miranda case, might I add, the police did not effectively advise the accused of his right to remain silent or of his right to consult with his legal attorney. Right to remain silent, consult an attorney. Those are rights. Or for the indigenous, consult your indigenous counsel. In Salinas versus Texas, 570 U.S., and there's not a case after it, but it was heard on 2013. The justice argued a baseline of voluntary disclosure. Remember that. A baseline of voluntary disclosure. That means you're speaking, you're agreeing with them at the beginning. You're talking to them. You're engaged with the police. A baseline of voluntary disclosure by agreeing to be interviewed and beginning to answer police questions was the issue with Salinas. These actions, again, the justice is explaining, these actions, the United States contends, are inconsistent with a suspect's intention to exercise a Fifth Amendment. That means once you agree to be interviewed by police, if they stop you and question you, hey, you got a identification, hey, what's your name, where do you live, you start engaging with them saying, yes, oh well, my name is such and such, I live in such and such place, and here's my identification, all these things. Once you start engaging them, that's when your Fifth Amendment is completely gone. And being a citizen of the United States, they can kill you on the spot if they feel that you are a criminal. You black people need to know this. Because, again, with Edomite law or Edomite culture, so to say, it is a culture that is not, it is an abstract culture, meaning words can play a different meaning in several different aspects. Whereas Hebrew Israelite culture is more concrete. You have Edomite culture, which is abstract, and that's what we're looking at here. They're saying you have a freedom of speech, but then it's how you use it in its own specifics here. Getting back to this, these actions, again, the United States contends, as the justice is explaining here, the United States contends are inconsistent with a suspect's intention to exercise a Fifth Amendment. The judge is literally saying his privilege against self-incrimination is gone. Giovio, I can't, if that's how it's pronounced, Mr. Giovio Salinas should have never agreed to speak to the police from the beginning. I urge many of you to stop speaking to the police. Know your specific rights as an individual before you encounter human trafficking, murdering, lying thieves, sometimes racist thieves. They're not employed to assist you as you think. See Warren versus District of Columbia, 444A.2D, District of Columbia, 1981. Look at that case. They literally have no duty to protect you at any time. Their duty is to gather information for their employers by any means necessary. By any means necessary to gather information for their employers. They don't care whether you live or die. That's just what it is. It's the law. And that's what they're going to tell you. It's the law. The law is the law. If they don't even know you, they getting information from a complete stranger. So where's the love in that? If you're a complete stranger, how are you going to love somebody that you absolutely don't know? So their particulars are the law. They have no treaty of agreement to even speak peace to you. So again, I practice the art of silence and urging many of you to practice the art of silence. Just hand them a piece of paper saying what it is that you want to say. If you want to say anything. If they're asking you for some identification, just hand it to them. You ain't got to speak at all. Just let them do what they got to do. Later, if you want to tell them that you're going to speak to your tribal council or to your lawyer, that's pretty much the baseline of what you need to say to police officers. You don't need to give any more information to them because they are attempting to act as judge and jury right there on the spot to incriminate you or to, if they think that you're innocent, to assist you. But most likely they're trying to incriminate you because, again, there's no love in law. There's no love in the people who absolutely don't know who you are because they're trying to protect themselves. They are basically, again, agents to collect information for their employers. And if their employers don't favor you from the beginning, why are you self-determined to become socially engineered? If the government does not favor you, why are you self-determined to abide or agree with the social engineering of these agents? The final note. The Monroe Doctrine historically pertained to the people of Cuba, Puerto Rico, Haiti, Dominican Republic, and many other countries in the Western Hemisphere, I want to say the Americas, who protested this doctrine of European discovery. Just think of all the billions of dollars sent to protect the Middle East and, Africa and all these other countries, the billions of dollars that are sent over there. Just think of that. How well the people of Puerto Rico would have managed to rebuild after disaster. Just think of the reparations, I want to say. The repairs of the Negro right here in the Americas. Billions of dollars that are sent over there. This is the Monroe Doctrine they're talking about. They want the old world to stay out of the new world, but the new world is sending money to the old world. It beats me. Just can't put my finger on it. Again, if minority groups in the United States itself were given such reparations, the social engineering of a predatory car thief would probably not exist. Pimps and hoes would probably not exist. Homeless people would probably not exist. Undercover cops pretending to be Johns would probably not exist. Bait cars would probably not exist. Probably have no need for these socially engineered cultural practices if a government company truly loved us or truly loved its citizens. Now, this final note again, I want to remind our indigenous readers that in John chapter 19, Pontius Pilate, the perfect of Roman Judea, the perfect, because there was no wrong in Romans, their culture. So this perfect Roman over Judea scourged our Hebrew Messiah, then sent him to the Praetorium, which is a judgment hall. And this judgment hall is called the Gabbatha in Hebrew. Now, in all of this time, they're asking our Messiah questions. The high priest was asking Jesus questions, and he kept silent. He kept silent in front of Herod. He kept silent in front of Pilate. And he gave them specific, he answered some of their questions, but he kept silent, which is a part of the prophecy of Isaiah 53, verse 7, keeping silent, because these people had no love for him. These people had no love for our Messiah, our Hebrew Messiah, had no love for him. In fact, they didn't even know who he was until the ancient Hebrews were in an uproar. They didn't understand that this prophecy was being fulfilled in their eyes. And so they thought that the Messiah was going beyond the law of the Hebrews, not the law of the Romans, but the law of the Hebrews. They thought that he was breaking. And so, this Roman culture decided, hey, we're going to put our hands on top of this Hebrew law and do what our perfect law is going to do. And this is what the Edomites do so well with their empire, their civil rights, and their abstract laws. And they do this so well, and a lot of people have been protesting. In fact, the citizens of the United States are protesting now based upon these principles that they hold up. And again, this is not a racist rant. It's not at all. We here at Indigenous Hebrew Israelite Awakening, we are not a racist religious hate group. We simply live here. So, I just wanted to end this message at that. Hebrew Israelite out.